Hello, and welcome to The View from North Fulton. I'm Fulton County District 3 Commissioner Liz Hausman. Realizing the need for modernization and more cost-effective processes and systems, the Fulton County Superior Court Chief Judge Cynthia D. Wright and State Court Chief Judge Patsy Porter agreed that the courts could use help in charting a path for the future. So in November 2011, the judges gathered a group of knowledgeable and trusted Fulton County community stakeholders to form the Fulton County Court Improvement Task Force. The group consisted of Fulton County Courts experts, members of the legal community and the business community, Fulton County commissioners, and lay people. Joining us on our show today, we will have the Honorable Superior Court Judge Cynthia Wright. And also joining us today is William Barwick, who chaired the task force. This group met for 11 months and presented its recommendations to the Board of Commissioners last fall. The Fulton County justice system has an impact on every citizen in the county, whether it is the significant portion of your county tax dollars that fund the courts or their work to ensure public safety and efficient court operations are vital to the success of Fulton County. So please stay tuned to learn more about the task force recommendations and proposals on our show today. We'll be right back. Welcome back. With us today on The View from North Fulton is Fulton County Superior Court Chief Judge Cynthia Wright. Judge Wright, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
For almost a year, I had the distinct pleasure of working with you in the task force, and our viewers are very interested in what happened there and what is to come. So if you could just give us an overview of why we established the task force and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, let me thank you and Chairman Eves and Commissioner Garner for serving on that task force as members of the board. What precipitated the task force was that judges are taxpayers too, and we knew that revenue was going to be in shorter supply, and the demand for services seems to be ever increasing in the criminal justice arena. And so we wanted to do what all businesses do, which is to take inventory of our business practices and determine if there were a more efficient way that we could conduct the business of the court to better serve the public. So we wanted to look at efficiency, we wanted to look at customer service, and we wanted to look at an integration of services between various courts to try to minimize or reduce the redundancies in the judicial system that we have in Fulton County.
Well, we had a very diverse membership on the task force. Tell us who was on it.
We had a number of people on the task force. We tried to draw from the community leaders in the business community. A.J. Robinson was there, for example. We also had Reverend Elligan, who served. We had folks from North Fulton. We had representatives from the bar. We had the state court chief judge was there, Patsy Porter, and she sent on occasion designees. We had the clerk of court, the superior court, and we had our court administrators. We always had a large table, and yes, we had a large discussion. We had some very diverse opinions that were addressed, but ultimately I believe we came to a good consensus on most of the issues.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the issues and some of the recommendations that have been made?
One of the big issues was that Superior Court is a constitutional court. It's set up by the state constitution. State court is a legislatively created county court. Even though it's called state court, it's a county court. Mm-hmm. We have overlapping jurisdiction in many areas, specifically in the civil arena. The difference between Superior Court and State Court is that Superior Court exclusively handles felonies. State Court handles misdemeanor cases of a lesser magnitude. But by and large, in the civil arena, business cases, things like that, we have overlapping jurisdiction. And one thing that we wanted to discuss was better ways to coordinate the services that each court delivers, and to look at where we overlap and how perhaps we could better coordinate what the courts do.
So what areas did you find?
Well, we found, for one thing, that we had been pretty much operating as silos. We had our own governance, they had their own governance, and even though we would run into each other in the judge's garage, we very rarely communicated. So the task force itself recommended that we have a joint meeting of the benches, which would make a lot of business sense to a lot of people, but somehow it had never come to be between the courts, and at least not in a long time. And when we met, we talked about ways that we could reduce some of these redundancies, better serve the taxpayer, better serve the public, and we've already put into effect some of those recommendations. One of those was that we form a joint governance committee. And we had an interim joint governance committee that looked at some of the issues that we could address. We adopted a charter. The interim joint governance committee proposed a charter to both benches, which has now been adopted. So we now have in place our permanent joint governance committee. And it's looking at things such as e-filing, which is a way of better serving the public by getting rid of all the paper that accompanies court filing papers. So we're making progress in that area. We've had 2 separate jury pools. Most counties that have a state court and a superior court don't have 2 separate jury pools. And we thought, not only is this not very efficient, but it's also an aggravation to folks, because one week they could get a summons from superior court, and the next week they could get a summons from state court. And to that person that got the summons, they're still having to come down to court. And so we didn't think that that was a particularly customer-friendly approach to the people that ultimately, the whole justice system depends on the determination of the peers and the public and what should be done. And that's what our whole justice system is built upon. And so we've started. We've met with the clerk of court on the e-filing, and we have now, clerk of superior court, we have now decided to move forward in that direction, which is a good time, because we are also proceeding with a coordinated criminal justice system, information system that's supposed to tie all these divergent justice system partners together in one big computer system. So at the same time we're proceeding with that, we thought, well, this would be an excellent time to proceed with a joint e-filing system. So we've agreed in principle on that. The other things that we've agreed on is that it is very difficult in government to get the positions you need and the people that you need in those positions. And so we've looked at revamping some of our personnel policies. We're very happy that the Board of Commissioners agreed with us that new hires would be unclassified. That gives us a lot more latitude in dealing with our employees and making sure that they are being deployed in the most effective, efficient manner as possible. And I believe you sponsored that resolution that helped us get to our declassified new workforce. And that's what the way most businesses operate. They see a need and they're able to put a person to fit that need. But the way that our old system worked is we would see a need, but if that job description wasn't exactly what the need was, then we were prohibited under the merit system from moving that person in to fit what gap we needed that person to fill.
Well, in these days of declining revenue, we've had to make some adjustments, and so I felt strongly that that was one piece that we could address in order to have a little bit more efficient operations for you and give you some flexibility so that you could work within the means that you're given and give us the results that I think we're all looking for. There's some other areas that you looked at consolidation, I believe, court reporters, a few others.
We are looking at the potential of taking, Superior Court has court reporters. Most of the court reporters are assigned to specific judges in Superior Court. State Court has a pool of court reporters, and we are working through the process of determining at least if we can come with a pilot project of willing Superior Court judges who are willing to participate in a pool system. I think that you'll find several that are willing, and it's one of those areas where if people believe it will work and you can show them that it will work, perhaps they can change their minds as to whether or not it's a good idea.
Well, technology is changing in that area as well, so I think that's another opportunity to revisit the way that things have been done in the past.
It is. Court reporting is a big issue across the state right now. The Administrative Office of the Courts is looking at it. The Judicial Council is looking at it. And, of course, our court reporters are absolutely essential to preparing a true and accurate record of the trial proceedings. And that's they're the underpinning, they're the reporters of justice, really. So they're necessary, but it is a field that is evolving very quickly from a technological standpoint.
Well, you've given us a good idea of some of the recommendations that have been implemented. What do you see for the future?
Some of this will be in the hands of the General Assembly. It, as I said, it has a lot of authority when it comes to creating courts of limited jurisdiction, such as our magistrate court. And one of the issues that I believe that the Fulton County Legislative Delegation will be looking at is whether or not Fulton County will be going to an elected magistrate system, as has every other county in the state of Georgia. We are a bit unique in that regard. And we believe that if we go to an elected magistrate system, that it will propel both the state court and the Superior Court to more effectively managing judicial resources and assist us in sharing the resources that we have amongst us.
Very good. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we return with Judge Wright, we're going to be joined by the chairman of the committee, Attorney William Barwick. So please join us when we return. Welcome back. We're here with Judge Wright, and now we've been joined by Bill Barwick, who has served on both as the president of the Atlanta Bar Association and the State Bar of Georgia, and recently served as the chair of our Judicial Reform Task Force Committee. He's currently a partner at the Duane Morris Law Firm, specializing in civil litigation and appellate work. Mr. Barwick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your service to Fulton County on this important committee.
Well,
you put a lot into it. We really appreciate your service. And you dedicated so much time and energy to it. What led you to be willing to serve, especially as chairman?
Well, I was asked by my good friend Judge Wright, but I have practiced law. This is my hometown, and I've practiced law here for 38 years. And I've told a lot of lawyers that the Fulton County Courthouse is, to me, the court and the courthouse square, like so many other county courthouses are throughout the state for thousands of Georgia lawyers. It's an extension of my office, and I remember my first trip to the Fulton County Courthouse was as a 7-year-old when I went down with my father to watch him try a case in the Superior Court. So I have not only a great deal of affection, but respect for the institution, and when Judge Wright offered me the opportunity, I jumped at it.
Well, that's an interesting historical perspective that you have and that you brought to the task force. One of the things that we, of course, did was we went out to our community at large to gauge their impressions of how we were doing. We went to the legal community, which you're a member of, but we also wanted the average citizen's input. So can you tell us a little bit about that process and what we found out?
Well, as one of the members of the commission who was an attorney, I came in with some preconceived notions about what would make it more convenient or more efficient for lawyers, and just as the judges wanted it more efficient for judges in their courtrooms. But we very quickly understood that the courthouse is not only a meeting place, but it's a place where a large number of people in this county come to use the services of the court. I know Judge Wright mentioned the word customer. I like more the expression end user or consumer of courthouse services. And we wanted to find out what would make the experience, if not pleasant, at least more efficient, more bearable, and more user-friendly. And so during the course of the Commission's work, and really it was not something that we set out to do, we came up with the idea that we have all of these great ideas that we're formulating around the table, but maybe we ought to test them. And so we had a survey done, not only of the community, but the legal community, but the community at large. And the purpose was twofold. We wanted to make sure we just weren't missing anything, something very intuitive that we should be addressing that we had just overlooked. And the other thing is we wanted to make sure we were on the right track with what we were talking about.
And what'd you find?
The survey confirmed a lot of our preconceived notions. We found there was a tremendous amount of trust in the judicial system as a whole, as a general principle. We also found that there were frustrations, and you can understand that. If in a perfect world, everybody that had to appear in court, either as a juror or a witness or a party, would love it if the court could come to them, but it can't. So we tried to figure out, and the survey helped us find out ways of making it more convenient. I mean, starting with when you walk in the courthouse building itself.
Right.
One of the jokes I told, and it's not a joke, it's perfectly serious, right after Judge Wright appointed me as task force commissioner, I was summoned down for a meeting with her in her chambers. And mind you, as I said, I've been going to that courthouse since I was 7 years old. And after I'd gone through security, it took me a half an hour to find her chambers.
Wow.
And so I thought, if that's happening to me, what's happening to the ordinary citizen of our county that comes into this building and trying to figure out where they're supposed to go?
Well, we've talked about what to do about those types of small changes that could make a big difference to the impression that someone gets when they do come to the courthouse. So I think some of the recommendations that have been made would be very interesting to our viewers.
Well, some of the things that we got were from business people who said that we really ought to follow not only the business model for efficiency, but interfacing with consumers or end users. And for years, we've had these empty kiosks that were clearly built, I guess in the 40s or 50s, as information desks that have been sitting there empty. And you have the people who you first meet are really security personnel, and their job is not to make sure you get necessarily to the right courtroom you're supposed to go to, but for the protection of the citizens and court personnel. And so we said, why isn't there, since you've built the booth for it, why don't we have someone there who can help members of the general public when they come into this courthouse? So that was one of the recommendations that we made. And there are a number of others as far as, for instance, the merging of the jury pools. Mm-hmm. I used to be confronted with clients or even friends who would get a jury summons. And they had no earthly idea what court they were going to be serving in, what the term was. And so we've tried to merge those functions to make them more efficient and again, user-friendly.
Well, I certainly hope that the public will recognize the changes and understand that we are trying to be a friendly court and be something that's easy for them to use when they find that necessary. So thank you again.
Thank you, and I want to thank you for all of your hard work. There was not a meeting I don't think I attended when you weren't there or other members of the Fulton County Commission, and you were not there as oversight or ex officio members. You were working members, and we very much appreciated your input.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that both of the commissioners that served put a lot of time into it, and I think this is a joint effort. These recommendations were not taken lightly, and were made with the hope that we can, return the good image, or, make sure that the public understands that we're there to serve, and that we're really trying to make sure that the courts run as efficiently as possible. That brings me to my final question to you, Judge Wright. I'm sure that you have a vision of what you would like to see Fulton County Court be. Would you share that with us, please?
At present, the vision is limited because we have constitutional and statutory restrictions. My vision, though, as a whole, is that we have an accountable court, but all the courts be accountable and transparent to the public so that the public knows what we do, why we're doing it, who does what, how many cases a judge is disposing of, what sentences are. So, because after all, we are elected by the people, and the people need us to, they need to know what it is that we're doing at any given time, so that they have confidence in their judiciary. If the public doesn't have confidence in the judiciary, then we are not serving our constitutional purpose.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate both of you very much, your willingness to take a hard look at what's happening in our courts and make some recommendations that may not be popular, but in the long run I think will have a big benefit to the citizens and to the courts and the employees. I think the employees also will benefit from these changes. So again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing the new Fulton County Court in the next few years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And please stay with us. We'll be right back with our wrap-up. The Court Improvement Task Force and its 3 subcommittees held 32 meetings over 11 months to assess progress made from prior recommendations, study core court functions, gather environmental and comparative data, and evaluate potential solutions. The task force's recommendations should serve as a foundation for the courts to eliminate redundancies, increase operational efficiency, and plan for needed improvements. I would like to thank all of the justice partners that worked on this process. I appreciate them taking a hard look at the way the justice system operates and their willingness to make significant suggestions for improvement. Our justice partners recognize how important it is to maintain a safe environment for our families and businesses in Fulton County. The Board of Commissioners and the Fulton County Justice System are committed to working toward timely resolution to any and all cases that come before it, and to help keep our jail population at acceptable levels. That's my view. What's yours? You can always contact me at my District 3 office at 404-612-8213, or reach me via email at liz.houseman@fultoncountyga.gov. And you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Well, thank you again. That's all my time. I'm Commissioner Liz Houseman, and we'll see you next time on The View from North Fulton.